Warning, this video is going to include spoilers, blood, gore, dismemberment, and dark topics. Viewer discretion advised. So, go back in time with me for a minute. E3, 2016. A trailer comes onto the screen for a new Sony game. You see the woods. You start seeing a town, then you see a stop sign with a firefly symbol on it. Everyone cheers knowing that it's going to be a new The Last of Us game. You see Ellie, you see Joel, and a lot of bodies inside of this house. Ellie singing a little song, cuts to black. The Last of Us Part 2 comes onto the screen. Everyone erupts into excitement. Woo, yeah. Naughty Dog announces it's going to come out June 19th, 2020. That day is where it all starts from here. For those of you who have never played or seen The Last of Us, well, either one now, I believe you're missing out on a lot of great story and great gameplay. Obviously, The Last of Us is a huge series now, getting remasters, remakes, and now even an HBO TV show. There is no denying people's love for the series, and back in 2020, with COVID hitting its peak, people were searching for something to bring them out of that, which many people, including myself, went to The Last of Us Part 2. We played the original game 6 or 7 years before, and now we want to see where the story goes from here. And now we are just left with drama. So now I'm going to try to do my best to sum up part 1, just to give a little bit of better context as we roll into part 2. Joel, Tess, and Ellie meet because Ellie needs to be transported to meet the Fireflies. Joel and Tess find out Ellie is infected and almost kills her, but Ellie is immune, so that's why she is important to the Fireflies. The Fireflies are trying to find a cure, so after a lot of blood, death, and trauma, they end up in Salt Lake City, where the Fireflies are trying to find a cure. Ellie is being prepped for surgery, and the surgery will kill her. Joel, after finding out, goes on a rampage throughout the hospital, killing everyone, including the doctors, and takes Ellie back to Montana. Montana is where Joel's brother Tommy is. Joel tells Ellie that there are a lot of people like her. They stopped looking for a cure, even with her being immune. And even with her being immune, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, which are all lies. You get that? Good. Let's roll into part 2, which is the meat potatoes of this video. It takes place about 5 years after the events of part 1. For this, I'm going to break down the major events of the story, going through them meticulously and break them down into their simple psychological elements and overall narrative story. But before that, I want to get back to a little bit of the release of The Last of Us Part 2. It was met with a lot of backlash and controversy, from how the story is to people saying there is a woke agenda for having an openly queer main character and an openly transgender character, and to the opinion of Abby as well, along with other elements that stirred up the fans, but it got critically acclaimed. In fact, until recently, it held the record for the most Game of the Year awards at 322 awards. But fans were truly upset about how the game went, review bombing it and spreading hate and death threats to the creators of the game. Even to this day, the actress who represents Abby still gets a lot of hate and death threats against her, even though she hasn't been at Naughty Dog since 2017. So why don't people like this game? Well, I believe it is due to a lack of understanding of how the message is meant to be received by the audience. It takes a slightly higher level of thinking than point and shoot gun. Let's start with the first major event, the event that caused a lot of uproar and the main drive over literally the entire story. Joel's death. Yep, Joel, the beloved character that you played in the first game, gets killed with a golf club at the hands of Abby Anderson. In the game, Joel had rescued Abby from an infected horde and was letting Joel and Tommy stay at a mansion where Abby and her group were staying. Joel and Tommy don't come back from their patrol, so Ellie, Dina, Jesse all go looking for them. Ellie was there to witness Joel's death, vowing to murder all of them in that moment. At first, it is a lot to take in, for both Ellie as well as the player. To Ellie, this is the loss of her father figure, the one person that really truly cared about her. To the player, you are in shock at the loss of this character that you have known and played for many years. For me, I remember being upset and enraged by him dying. Now stricken with grief, survivor syndrome, and PTSD, Ellie makes it her mission to go after Abby's group and seek her revenge. Tommy, who is feeling the same way, he also makes it his mission to go to Seattle to avenge his dead brother. At this point, we know nothing about Abby. All we know is that she went golfing with Joel. Nothing more, nothing less. All Ellie knows is that Abby is in Seattle with her group called the WLF, or Washington Liberation Front. Remember, Ellie doesn't remember how to deal with her emotions. She is so overwhelmed with so many emotions that she is purely focused on getting to Abby and her friends and ending them. Also remember that Ellie's role model was Joel, who was quiet, kept to himself a lot, and didn't know how to deal with what he was feeling. Ellie was ready to lose it all, even her partner, family, friends, to get what she wanted, and as the player, you really want Abby gone as well. Now you are in Seattle, brand new territory, crawling with infected WLF and Seraphites, which are essentially a cult. Ellie, who is accompanied by Dina, spends 3 whole days in Seattle, which which brings a lot of blood, trauma, and overall hell to them in the city of Seattle. Seattle changes Ellie, the way she acts, the way she thinks, and it's also affected her relationship with Dina and the other people who get involved in it as well. Over those 3 days, Ellie kills a lot of WLF, infected, and a few of Abby's friends. Ellie is tired and exhausted. 7. The people who had a hand in Joel's death weren't enough. She wanted the main person, Abby, which she could not track down for the entire time she was in Seattle. Ellie wanted more, but they all decided to leave. But before they leave, Abby pays them a visit, killing Jesse, severely injuring Tommy, nearly killing Dina and Ellie, but leaves Ellie alive. Now, why does Abby do all these things? Well, let's dive into Abby. Abby obviously is the one that kills Joel, but why does she do it? Remember I mentioned earlier about a doctor trying to find a cure and Joel ends up killing him? That doctor was Abby's dad. Joel kills him, and then Abby makes it her mission to find Joel. Same sort of revenge story throughout the whole game up to this point. In the game, you go from Ellie to Abby, where you play as a quote-unquote antagonist, where you go through the same 3 days as Ellie, but from her perspective, which is not better but borderline worse than what Ellie is going through. In the game, Abby loses all of her friends to either Ellie or Tommy. She starts taking care of some Seraphite kids by the names of Lev and Yara. She abandons the WF completely. A lot happens to her. Some say she deserves this for what she did to Joel, but that is not the point of showing her side. The point is to show that she is going through a lot of pain and misery. The game forces you to see it from both sides rather than seeing it from one narrow point of view of Ellie. You get to see the whole picture, both going through trauma, misery, loss. Yet it all seems to run on revenge and vengeance at this point. But that is not how it ends. Flash forward until they are back in Jackson after Abby completely annihilated Ellie, Dina, Jesse, and Tommy. Ellie and Dina have a house outside of Jackson. Dina had her child whose name is JJ. They have sheep and a really nice lifestyle, but it isn't always that easy. Ellie is still struck with PTSD from the day that Joel died, having flashbacks, panic attacks, insomnia, and no appetite. Ellie still sees it as her mission to find Abby. Ellie also made a promise to Tommy that she would do whatever it takes to get the job done. Abby, after Seattle, she left to go find the Fireflies with Lev down in Santa Barbara, California. Abby got ambushed by a group called the Rattlers, where they use people for labor and use them to do a lot of their dirty work. Ellie, who had the perfect life, left it all to go find Abby after she caught wind she was in Santa Barbara. Ellie had a ranch, a small farm, a loving wife and child, but she gave it all up to go after Abby, which to me explains itself. She is so encumbered with her own grief and PTSD that she would literally throw it all away to go after the one person that she would believe would fix it. After getting to Santa Barbara, Ellie was trying to figure out where Abby was. She found out after killing a few Rattlers that she was being held at her base. After going through their base and killing a lot of Rattlers, she found what she had been after all along. Abby, but not the Abby that she had remembered, but a weak and malnourished Abby who had been strung up on a post for trying to escape. Ellie freed Abby, and then Abby freed Lev. Abby carried Lev to the water where there were a few boats, Ellie following closely behind. Ellie goes to one boat, Abby goes to the other. Ellie starts having flashbacks to what Abby had done. She couldn't just let her leave, not after what she did to Joel. Ellie wanted to fight Abby, but Abby did not want anything to do with it. Ellie forced her to fight after threatening Lev. After a few minutes of punching, slashing, and the fingers being bitten off, Ellie had Abby right where she wanted her, slowly drowning in the ocean. She was literally getting what she wanted, the person that took away the one person that loved and cared about her. Ellie let her go. Abby then took that opportunity and left in the boat with Lev. This was a part that left a lot of gamers and people not satisfied, including myself at first. We were led to believe that the story was about revenge. Loosely, part of it is. Revenge is a very emotional thing, and not driven by reason, which makes a lot of sense for the whole story. Yes, it is there, but it is not the reason why Ellie let Abby go and why Abby let Ellie go. Abby obviously has been through a lot with losing her dad and her closest friends by the hands of Joel, Tommy, Dina, and Ellie. Abby had every reason to kill Ellie, but Abby in the end just wanted the violence to stop. All Abby wanted by the end was to leave with Lev to have a new life together, but was forced to fight with Ellie on the beach to protect Lev. After everything Ellie had been through, why let Abby go? During their final struggle, an image pops into Ellie's head, an image of Joel with a guitar. That memory leads to a conversation where Ellie is going to attempt to forgive Joel for lying to her about what happened in Salt Lake City. That conversation was about forgiveness. Letting Abby go was a sign that Ellie was willing to forgive and accept that Joel is truly gone, and nothing is going to bring him back. To say goodbye to someone that she loves. That is what this story means. It's a story about forgiveness, acceptance, understanding, and love. Not so much about revenge. In order to truly start grieving and accepting, Ellie needed to move on from Abby. Forgive her for what she had done rather than try and act out of emotion and anger. Ellie didn't truly see what she had to do until that penultimate moment of having what she wanted, and how even in killing her was not going to make her feel better. It was not going to allow her to move past her feelings over Joel. In this one instance in a violent world, violence was not the answer.